ones that actually have the knowledge, and we're the ones that build the strategy to help the folks in the front to get as much glamour and stuff. So I think it's time for us to kind of showcase what we can do, and people like yourself, when people are talking about, I'm a life coach. you know guys like us, all three of us, Kevin Carr, my partner's in here, yourself, myself, we've been life coaching because we've been dealing with artists, we've been dealing with athletes forever. So I think now's the time to kind of give you your shine, because you deserve it. But let me introduce my partner in crime, Mr. Career crossover. Kevin Carr in the house.
What's up?
How are you, brother? Nice to meet you.
Yeah,
nice
pleasure. Sherman, the legend, and one of what I heard, Philly's finest. I mean, everything. Where you at these days, man? I heard about you. I can't wait for us to dig in. For our audience to enjoy hearing your success has been that pathway that a lot of people. We're gonna give them a little insight. So that's
Absolutely. And in light of that, because the spirit. And we're going to touch upon this during this interview today, but in light of the spirit, today was the funeral. The day was the funeral for George Floyd. Beautiful service. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it. Attended virtually. The music was on point. The eulogies. A couple people were plugged. Couple people were plugged to a certain degree, but it's all right. But in light of what's going on, all the protests, and last week, we participated by airing last week. We were all blacking out. And that's what I find. That's what I love about our music, and entertainment. And our black folks, and our black families, we truly, when we put our minds together, we represent in a very big way. And this is some of the proudest moments. Seeing the protest, my only prayer is praying that everybody's safe. They got their masks, safe. But other than that, this has been a beautiful thing. Especially when you see, we're causing. Music, publishing companies, and record labels to really reconsider a lot of things. Our boy Ron Sweeney. I don't know if you saw the article. Ron put a op-ed about the things that needs to happen to make sure that we get our fair share. Because of business. Unfortunately, and this conversation I'm having behind the scenes. We're fighting for crunk. We're fighting for crunk.
In the grand scheme of things, absolutely.
In the grand scheme of things, because we're not even getting the fair budget we should be getting. And we'll touch on that today. But that's all I want to touch on. The area of music. What do you want to touch on, Kevin? Because there's a lot of activity.
Well, I mean, where do you jump in? I'm essentially like every business, they're having to reinvent themselves. And there's just so many that's impacting the culture of culture as well. Obviously, the passing of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Rihanna, and Laquan, all of that, now up front and center in our athlete population, artist population really have embraced in the past because of its culture by America. So now our athletes and artists really be out front in a way that now America can really hear them. So the challenge is really upon everybody to bring our very best to realize the state that we had to unfortunately be placed in. Created not just national, it's global. And now we have a chance to really listening and then building. And so my hope is that our athletes, our artists, our leaders, local, national, all get in and begin to play major roles far beyond anything they've ever done or seen. Get uncomfortable, begin to build, and not only just build to create understanding with different races, but also even within our own community, African Americans, some of the challenges that we have had ourselves, to take it upon ourselves to equip ourselves and build ourselves up where we need to correct some of the things that we have long been plagued with. So, man, I'm seeing an amazing opportunity, and that's what I see. But to dial down further, I just hope that a lot of the sports and businesses that are surrounding that, the entertainment industry and sports industry, get back to work. So the good news is, my favorite sport, basketball, looks like they coming to Orlando.
They're coming around the way, baby.
So we won't get to see, but we get to peek in the bubble, and hopefully we get to see some good stuff.
We gotta get our credentials. Guys.
I don't know what I can do, but I'm gonna lean on the logo man as much as I can in the fair and equitable way, and maybe I'll get some shine, and you too, and maybe we'll get a chance to figure out, sneak around a corner or something. All jokes aside, but we want to make sure everybody's safe and have a great opportunity to bring back a missing part of our society. We enjoy the ability to see unscripted content in terms of game and competition. So I'm looking forward to that. But I love some of our athletes speaking out and doing. It's too many to name, but I will say that this has really brought a lot of people together and awakened a lot of people. And I hope it's sustainable. So that's what I'm looking to
do. That's the main thing, is the sustainability to what's going on. You know what I'm saying? I find that to be a very important word in any facet of life, be it personal or business, is, what is it that's going to bring about the sustainability of the relationship?
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And, the sustainability piece is what's going to keep it going and keep us focused, right? Like, we got to keep focused, which kind of brings us to, the theme of the show we want to talk about is confidence. Because a lot of time, that's the reason why Black Lives Matter is they feel like they can just kind of disregard us and lower our ego. But what they don't understand is that we have innate and spiritual strength and confidence that no matter what, we're going to overcome. Like, you can't stop this. And that's when I think of, you and your brother, that's what you guys represent. Y'all represent, like, no matter what, listen, you're gonna take my meeting, you're gonna place this song, you're gonna do it because what I'm bringing is the good stuff. And you can try to knock me down, but it don't matter, because I'm coming back again, because I got that confidence. And so the 9 medallions is something that Kevin Carr has created with Pro to CEO. And Pro to CEO is the ultimate transition where folks, athletes, or even people who want to transition from one thing to the next and want to flourish, that's what he helps them do. And it stands for champions, is 9 medallions. And the C of champions is confidence. So this is going to be the theme of our show, is confidence. And, why don't you just set it off for us, Kevin?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm excited to really jump in here, Sherman. So get ready, bruh. We about to come at you in the most fair, equitable way. Now, I understand why confidence is your thing. I heard the bio, and I can't wait to hear your story. So, Sherman, if you could gift us, what is your story, man? Break it down. Like, how did you begin to, like, just the essence of how something got in you and started you?
I'll tell you a funny story. Me and my brother grew up in a 2-parent household. Grew up in at the time was a Jewish neighborhood. We were the first blacks in the neighborhood. Over time, other blacks wound up moving into the neighborhood. And it was during the time when Frank Rizzo, which was a racist cop that was in office. So compared to other African Americans in the city, we lived a different life. My dad was a used car wholesaler. So, typically when your average 15-year-old kid was somewhere having a good time with a playground, I was at the auction buying cars and having a checkbook about $250,000. So the whole business acronym of the music business was something that we explored, that we understood from a business perspective of how business generally works. We just had to figure out the ins and outs of the music business. And then once we figured out the jewel of the music business was the song, it all got figured out for us. So, I spent countless amounts of time shadowing like the likes of Teddy Riley, Ali and Babyface, Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff, and just, learned a lot just from being a fly on the wall. You know how sometimes they say you got to get in a room, keep your mouth shut, absorb everything?
That's right.
That's what I did for about 3 or 4 years before we even decided to even really put foot into the music business. And we did the diligence. We got the necessary books to study and to understand. And that's what exuded the confidence, is knowing that you were fortified with knowledge to go around and knock the door on top of having product. And we were always one to just let the product speak for itself. It wasn't ever like a tap dance on the floor, or play music loud, or a whole big, show before playing a record. We just believe in playing a record.
Yeah, that's what it is. And so, with that being said, how is your family? Anyone that you that's been affected by the COVID-19 that you wanna?
My family, fortunately, for us, we weren't necessarily inconvenienced from COVID. I have 2 parents that I take care of, both my mom and my dad. So when it was all going on in the beginning, I just made it a point. It was easy. Nobody leaves, nobody comes inside, and we're all good. Everything gets delivered to the door. Like, until it gets figured out, that's the guarantee for the win.
That's right. That's right.
Yo, love that.
That's good.
What? Go ahead, man.
I just want to make sure that in light of everything that's happening, that we all just keep in mind of their other families that have lost loved ones due to this COVID situation and stuff. So, I'm happy to hear that everything's fine on your end. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I've definitely had some dear friends that have lost, relatives due to it. Shout out to all the fallen from the COVID. Unfortunately, they've departed, but the Lord knows best.
That's right.
Absolutely.
You can't question, His work.
So on our show, we talk about how people make moves, and you certainly have made those in the industry that you've been. So we want to talk a little bit about just getting to a point where people can generate revenue. And this is a very hard one, but I know you can simplify it. Making money, making deals, make music, is your forte. How did you create that persona? Making money, making deals, and making music. That's your forte.
One of the key components to it was being trustworthy. If you put yourself in position to be trustworthy, you'll gain trust. And once you gain trust, it's easy to garner relationships, to in turn create business. I think a lot of young people, when they first get involved in the business, a lot of them just, unfortunately, have what I deem as reckless ambition. it's ambition with no real direction, not necessarily knowing how to gauge, garner, keep, manage relationships. So they always tend to look for the transaction and miss the business, because once you render one transaction, it's really just it's an advance. And then once you get on the advanced train, you're forever on the advanced train until you figure it out. And it's no fun being on the advanced train, because you lose yourself, living off the advanced train. That's what the music business is until you really figure it all the way out. Figure out how to in turn be involved with things that have residual income, because a lot of records, they don't bring you back the income. In some cases, when a producer or a songwriter gets that advance, that's all the business is for a minute until the record thing comes around.
I love what you mentioned, and I think so for our listeners who may not even understand what you're saying, because I think that's a very powerful point you mentioned, is there's the advance train, right? But then there's the opportunity of all these different various revenue streams in the music. Can you kind of break that down a little bit further and simplify it? Because what you're saying is a very powerful point. Because
I'll say this: in most cases in this business, the carrot gets dangled, and the dangling carrot is attractive to you, especially when it comes with a figure that's far greater than you've ever seen in your lifetime. Right? And when you're a transactional person, you want to do everything in your power and in such a timely way, to the point that you're misreading all of the business that's inside the terms. Because if you would have figured out how to take less of an advance, you could have positioned yourself to have a better back end, or better yet, a back end to look forward to.
There you go.
I like that. So talk to us about this, Sherman. Music industry and title. What is your opinion?
Music industry and title? In regards to the platform title?
Yes.
Me personally, I think it's a dope platform. What makes it dope is that it's a Black-owned platform. I think we'll start to see, based on the circumstances of the world right now, I think we'll start seeing the balance of that platform amongst these kids change, right? A lot of kids, they sit on Spotify,
right?
So, depending upon what demographic of music eras that you come from, is almost it can almost dictate where you'll wind up going in regards to your musical taste. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know if I'm just looking for something from the 70s, I'm going to iTunes.
Right.
I know if I'm listening for something that's current that these kids listen to, I'm going to Spotify. I know if I want to listen to something from a golden era, State Property, Beanie Siegel, Diplomats, I'll go to title. But everybody's, I guess you could say, musical taste and listening ear is different, and they go there based on, what they deem is relevant to their demographic and the platform, the services, though.
So let me ask you this then, because that's a little bit of a biased question, right? But at the same time, what do you think is with the climate of us really starting to focus in, or awakening to buying our own stuff and doing business with each other? What else do you think is going to take for us to truly support ourselves so that we can make true money in the industry?
I think our culture needs a huge course in financial literacy. That's just the bottom line to it. We're like, unfortunately, we're very illiterate in regards to finances and the responsibility of finances. You know, it's like I stated, some of us are just transactional. And we're at a time now where you just can't be transactional. You have to look at the big picture as well as, you know, the smaller picture that's in front of you.
You know, I'm happy you mentioned that because, you know, that speaks to the fact of that's the reason why you've been a fabulous manager and executive, is that you focus on strategy. You don't focus on the short term. You focus on the long term. How did you come up with that process, you and your brother, in being able to accomplish that, in which you guys, you know, have done very well for yourself?
Once again, it came from the foundation of my dad with the car business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have what are deemed the short-term goals for the business and long-term goals for the business. And what I mean by that is, okay, short-term goals. Sure, I'll go to the auction and I'll bid $250,000 worth of car inventory to service 3 car lots that seat 30 to 35 cars on each lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
The short-term goal is probably to sell cars daily, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even if I'm not selling cars daily, from a long-term goal, I have to constantly rotate my inventory around on those lots, because if all that inventory winds up becoming stagnant, then for the customer that's coming by to view the lot and see things to buy,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to appear as if we're not selling cars, whether we're selling cars or not.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
if I don't move those cars around within that 90-day time frame and figure out based on analytics what's working and what's selling and what's not selling, I will never be able to scale the business out for long term.
Mm.
So
that's right.
You gotta have short term and long term goals to any and everything. I mean, you gotta have goals with anything that you're working on.
I love that.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
And I like the point about the industry, the automotive. I got a curious question. Why is it that we don't see your dad was in an industry like that, and I see African Americans buy automobiles, and I'm just curious, why do you think we're not in the ownership space? Because we do buy and take a lot of pride in our automobiles.
Because of economic disparity.
Okay. Break that down for us.
For instance, you would think that, out of just common sense, right, quote unquote, you would think that an African American in the mid 70s to my pop wound up having a stroke in like 2004, right? So from the mid 70s, and his peak period was say between 80 and 90 as a peak period, where we're selling more cars than anybody in the city when it comes to used vehicles, foreign late model cars. We're like the kings in the city for a 10-year time frame, right? We're buying inventory as far as trade-ins from every dealership in the tri-state area that's selling foreign vehicles. So we already have the relationships. The eyes are already watching, but at the same time, with things being competitive, with the guy that has the BMW dealership, with the guy that has the Mercedes dealership, or the Jaguar dealership, that's selling you, the African American, the used car inventory, and say, would I necessarily want him as being competition with any flagship of a dealership? Probably not from a competition standpoint, because you know, they're all competitive with one another. But back then, you know, you really had to jump through hoops in order to become a franchise. It was almost as equivalent to trying to get an NBA team, like if you was to make the comparison.
That's real, and it piggybacks back into what you said, the whole financial literacy and understanding that, you know, it's not an easy fight, you know. So, you know, it's not just about us being able to survive physically, but also we got to fight mentally for the businesses that we create, and it's constantly a fight for us. No matter which, it doesn't matter what the industry is. Like your dad, automotive, you know, music business, financial services, NBA, it doesn't matter. We are always fighting, but yet we stand tall with great confidence.
Well, I think the difference in regards to the fight today versus the fight yesterday is that we now have numbers to support someone for what they think is going to be an emotional no, to eventually have them to make an emotional yes, because the numbers don't lie at this point.
That's right.
You know, like one can try to denounce you all that they want, but the numbers are going to always tell the truth. No different in the music business right now. You know what I mean? As much as people used to think the rock and roll was paying the bills and this, that, and the proof paid. The proof is in the pudding. That in streaming, we are it as a culture, and nobody else is streaming like us.
Yep.
Period. So, you know, we're keeping the lights on in some places.
The truth.
You know, as a culture, that's what we're doing.
Oh, absolutely. That's a powerful statement there. To me, I think go ahead.
I think we might be going on break.
Okay.
I think I hear the music, so let's go on break for about 2 minutes, and then pay our bills, so everybody can just mute, and then we'll be back in 2 minutes. Once again, this is Power Move, where celebrities, athletes, executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect.
Respect, yes sir.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard, so you don't need to start foraging wild berries.
I was skeptical, but these are actually pretty good.
You don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
You just need FeedThePig.org. Don't get left behind. Get tips and tools at FeedThePig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all gotta see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard, so you don't need to start foraging wild berries.
I was skeptical, but these are actually pretty good.
You don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
You just need FeedThePig.org. Don't get left behind. Get tips and tools at FeedThePig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
How they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. We get into this power segment right now. Hey, Kevin, man, why don't you hit him with that question, that power question?
Yeah, man. So here we go, Sherman. We're getting ready to take it up a little bit. So talk to us about, you transferred from music to TV, from hip hop and R&B, and now, you know, one of my favorite spots is social responsibility in a very serious way. Now you're a community activist. How did you evolve that power and influence to all those industries now culminating in the community, which is, you know, obviously the pillar, particularly in these times?
I've always been socially responsible. Did this experiment a few years ago during the time when John Street was running for office. A good friend of mine that worked for the city at the time, to Marks Alexander, and he said, hey, we want to try to find a way to get Eve and Beanie Siegel involved in a voter registration drive to help get new voters, to attract new voters. So at the time, you know, I didn't think about it. I wasn't really into politics at the time, but I was like, we support. Because I looked at it from a standpoint, if we ever need a favorite, then, you know, we always got another door to knock. We didn't even look for, quote unquote, the transaction. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
We did it pro bono as being an opportunity to get people to understand the importance of voting.
Sure.
Make a long story short, it was a landslide victory for Mayor Street. He won that the mayoral decision by 1,200 and some odd votes. But what we participated in, and the outcome of new voters that we wound up acquiring was 68,000 new voters.
Ooh.
In other words, if it wasn't for our efforts in partaking in that, I doubt very seriously had that outcome been the same. And I didn't necessarily look at it from a particular standpoint at that time because I wasn't into politics. I could have cared less, 20-some odd years ago about politics because I was on the course of what I was going for at the time. But understanding it later, the next 4-year term later, guess what? I completely understand. I completely understand the importance of influence. I completely understand the importance of having a voice. I completely understand the importance of economics and having a voice. I helped with the district attorney that just recently won a seat. Crashed. My efforts, or better yet, our company's efforts, helped him obtain his victory as well. To me, a product is a product. Unfortunately, everybody are human beings. In the case of an artist is a human being, but in the music business, the artist is a product. A Pepsi-Cola is a Coca-Cola can, it is a product. So once I start looking at everything as a product, it just made it easier for me to understand how to move that product around. If in fact that product is palatable to my taste.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just not any product. It's a product that's palatable to my taste, because if it's not my style or not my thing, then I'm not going to dive into it as I would if it wasn't. I just make it a point to just dial in on the things that I understand and that I like and that I want to be associated with.
Yeah, so Joe, let me jump real quick. One more piece of this. So Sherman, you talked about at that time you could care less, and now you understand. There's that point of even being young and not really having appreciation. How do you get the appreciation if you're like young people now, considering all this stuff going on? Because there is, a piece of this that has to be, sort of, even if you're 20 years old and you're 70 years old, 60 years in your experience, what should they be getting out of this?
I think there are certain things that happen in an individual's life that help them get to a point of looking at life from a different lens. And what I mean by that is, it's hard for somebody to look at the lens that you're looking through from a standpoint of a life of righteousness, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't get to a point of righteousness in this world until you gain freedom, I'd say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the only way that you can gain freedom in this country is, for us, has been financially, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only way you can, and there's steps to it, right? One, the first step is becoming, is having stability. Once you have stability, then you can tend to look for the extra things that you want with life. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
Your stability gives you your floor, right?
Right.
Everything else after your floor is deemed as a luxury,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And after you acquire these quote unquote things that you deem as luxuries, you'll get to a point where there is no thrill in doing the same thing twice.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll find yourself evolving into a different person. And then once you start evolving, you start to look at life through this different lens that I'm speaking upon, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lens that's more towards righteousness. It's a lens that's more towards purpose, and the cause of your purpose, and to live in your purpose, and to understand your purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what brings about the change that renders clarity, or this awakening, as people would want to call it. And it makes you want to be involved in things that's going to be for the betterment and the well-being for people to come after yourself.
Mm-hmm. Now that's a very good point. And it's interesting because some of the people that you've touched, I know personally, you look at the maturation of Eve. When you talk about those stages, she's a great example of that. Most recently also Freeway. When you look at Freeway, thank God that he got himself a kidney, but seeing how he's transformed is pretty remarkable. And what's interesting, I kind of want to actually, Kevin, I want you to ask that next question, because I think we starting to run a little short on time, but I really want to touch on a couple of things that you got going on there with these questions.
Yeah, no doubt. So one of the things you just talked about, Sherman, I want you to really get even granular with it, because I believe it's a pivotal moment where people are looking everywhere for insight and how to. So we've marched and we've protested, collectively as a nation and as a global society. In your opinion, what should happen next? What are you thinking along those lines? What should happen next? Really,
we need infrastructure as a race of people. There's no infrastructure to what we have going on as African American. Like if you go to Africa, they have infrastructure for Africans. They have cities, they have boards, they have all kinds of things, you know what I'm saying, in regards to being able to engage. But with African Americans, there's no infrastructure. So until we have committees and this, that, and the other, and organizations that come together collectively to help us achieve what is deemed as financial power, to have say, to be able to contribute to campaigns, because when you contribute to campaigns, you contribute to your cause, you contribute to your purpose. We have no buy-in. We have to have buy-in. Like, are there a lot of silos out here that have buy-in, and whether it's in their own hometown or, they have...
So Sherman, this is Power Moves. What's buy-in, so we can help people make that move? What do you mean buy-in? Help our people, help our audience.
Okay. If as much as people say it, right? Like, unfortunately for us as blacks, right, to live in uber urban scenarios, right? The police are our enemy based off of experience that either somebody in our family had, or a personal experience, or experience of another friend. So they're looked upon as the enemy, right? Okay. In most cases, people that live in uber urban scenarios, they have uber urban occupation too to go along with being in those uber urban scenarios, right? But like, say for instance, once you get out of that situation, or find yourself to financially get out of the situation, whether you're still there and you got to financially, or whether or not you, either way that it goes, right? Once you reach that stability part, right? And I'm just talking about like a business owner, right? You have to have buy-in. Like, okay, if you have a business on Germantown Avenue, if your business is not donating to the FOP, don't expect the FOP to come to your business quick, fast, and in a hurry. Because you have no buy-in. You understand what I'm saying? It's just like when you go to another tax bracket and you move to that neighborhood that pays that extra property tax, guess what? When you call 911, they're right there. Based on your buy-in, just on from a taxation standpoint on property, right? So it's like we have to have buy-in on everything. We have to have buy-in to have say. Like, I give you, for instance, the three of us, we go into an adventure to invest. One of us has a friend. That friend makes the fourth person. All three of us have money. We're investing sweat equity and money. So whatever it is that everybody does, they come in with their sweat equity and they have money on top of that. This other person that's coming to the table, we respect the fact that they have sweat equity, right? But they don't have any buy-in. How much say-so is that person with no buy-in? How much say-so are they really going to have?
Break it down. Preach, brother. Preach.
I just try to put it in a layman term for people to understand. Like, just being honest, like, how much say-so is somebody going to have? So it's like, if you don't have buy-in to have a say, you get overlooked. We get overlooked.
Yeah, I got you. So it's about making the commitment, obviously physically, but also economically, also politically, buying into the process. We show up in big numbers at certain things, but when it's time to, example, I'm a parent. I'm active in, PTAs and school stuff, but I see a different kind of energy when I go to a youth football game and see lots and lots of people. But when I go to a youth education discussion about, upcoming school changes and what people's opinions are, I don't see a lot of people at all. And I'm saying for everybody, not just people of color, but I don't see the same energy. So the buy-in, as you're talking about, when changes get made, they get made by a few people who have bought in.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's like as much as you'd like to take the whole tribe, the whole tribe may not be able to commit because they might not be there in that thought process on life to have the lens to be able to digest it. And that's why we have to instill early financial literacy, because, okay, even if with having a really good course in financial literacy, even if that person didn't have the opportunity to use that information right then and there, the moment that it comes up, whether it's 20 years later, it's going to circle right back around. So it's almost like your parents telling you something when you was a kid. They repeat over and over and over like an exercise. You feel what I'm saying? And it's like later down the line, you'll be like, my mom told me. She been told me not to do that. I did it anyway. Should have listened.
That's right. So we're gonna jump right into this respect segment because we got like 6 minutes left. Go ahead, Kev. What you gotta say? Oh, you on mute, bro?
Yeah, I gotta make sure the quality. I want to make sure everybody heard Sherman, so I want to make sure we had the proper music here. As far as the respect piece, man, I mean, there are a lot of what can I guess from a sense of a lot of egos in the business. How does one establish respect when you're starting up? You're trying to get going and get that respect.
I'd say one, manage your expectation first and foremost, and make it a point that when you come around with the goods every time. Like if it's not creme de creme, why make rounds? Like, I give it, for instance, and this is what I mean by like being realistic with your expectations. If the baby is number one on the week that you go inside a record company and you have an artist, if you don't have an artist that's literally equal to, or better than the baby, why are you choosing to make your rounds? Knowing good and well, everybody's watching the baby at number one. He's the number one artist to watch, but you don't have an artist. The artist that you have is not equal to or better than the baby. Why are you making your rounds? You're knocking on doors unnecessarily. And if you knock on doors unnecessarily, then the nine times out of 10, when you come knocking again, you probably won't get the meeting, because when you come around, you don't have a value.
Yep.
And that's what people respect, is value. I mean, one thing me and Mark made it known. We didn't come around that often. Probably came around like once every 18 months. But when we came around, everybody would say he was coming. So and so just called me from their office and told me you just left from over there. So y'all definitely making y'all rounds.
That's right. Yeah. You definitely came with some cannons. And you was, I think one of the things I would say from a respect thing is you and Mark, and I want to touch a little bit on this too. You and Mark navigated all throughout black music, so you wasn't just hip hop. You was doing R&B. You was doing a little alternative. You were just doing good music.
Period. I mean, because most of the artists that we wound up representing, they were songwriters. They wound up getting deals as artists because someone would always say, "Well, who's that on the demo?" They weren't looking for deals. Eve wasn't necessarily looking for a deal when that happened. There wasn't even the opportunity that Eve walked into. It wasn't for her. Bean didn't want to go to Rockefeller when we went. He wanted to go to a dogfight. You know what I'm saying? Like I mean, it was so crazy during those times. But Eve didn't have a demo. Beanie Siegel didn't have a demo. Most Wanted didn't have a demo. None of our artists had demos. I can't recall it really like doing a deal when I didn't do a deal with a demo.
And that goes to relationships and respect, right? So let's talk about we only have a couple of minutes left, but being that this is Black Music Month, actually we got 1 minute left. How important it is for us to respect the history of Black music?
I mean, that's a no-brainer. That's like saying, how do you respect history? How do you not respect history?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if it wasn't for history, you wouldn't know where you're going. They go hand in hand. I mean, I make it a point to understand the past just completely on all aspects because history repeats itself. So if you can pay attention to trends, you know what happened, what worked on this particular time frame, and you see something coming around the corner, you should know what to do because you've seen it before.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you've seen it before. Like look at right now. Look at the time. Look at the times right now. This is nothing but history all over. 50 years. Listen, 50 years later. This is what it's from Dr. King. 50 years later.
That's right. And we do need a What's Going On record right now.
And you know what's crazy? Clarence is a great mentor to both me and Mark.
When you say Clarence, you mean
Avon.
Not everybody knows the Black Godfather.
So, when someone that marched at that time takes onus to something that they took part in, he was talking to me and Mark, and of course, he was one of the first to make a contribution to the Martin Luther King Center in Washington, D.C. And he said, we marched for the wrong thing.
On that note, brother, we got to shut it down. But that's what it is. We don't need to say anything. We have marched for the wrong thing, and that's why we got power moves. So power moves with celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. We're gonna have to have you come back on again for part 2.
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
For part 2, because we need to drop more jewels. They need to hear what it is.
Thank you, Sherman. We appreciate you, and thank you for your service, bro.
Thank you for your service as well, man. I appreciate you, brother.